I learned to stay quiet at family gatherings when I was 12. That was the year my cousin Brandon got accepted to an elite boarding school. The family threw a party with catered food and a professionally decorated cake. Everyone congratulated my aunt and uncle on raising such a brilliant son. The same week I won the regional science fair. Built a working model of a solar-powered water purification system. Judges said it showed exceptional engineering thinking for someone so young. My dad's response: "That's nice. Did you thank your teacher for helping?" I hadn't needed help. But I learned something important that day. Achievement only mattered to my family if it came with the right credentials, the right schools, the right titles, the right appearance of success. So I stopped trying to impress them. I went to State University instead of applying to the Ivy League schools my guidance counselor suggested. Studied computer science and business. Graduated with a 3.9 GPA. My family attended the ceremony but left early to catch Brandon's lacrosse game at Princeton. After graduation I started working. Joined a small tech startup in Austin. 12 people in a cramped office above a coffee shop. I was employee number 8. Made $48,000 a year. Worked 90-hour weeks. Learned everything about building software, scaling systems, managing growth. My family called it, that little computer job. Brandon, meanwhile, got hired at Goldman Sachs. Starting salary, $110,000 plus bonus. The family group chat exploded with congratulations. My aunt posted about it on Facebook 17 times. I posted nothing about my job. Nobody asked anyway. The startup grew. 12 people became 30. 30 became 60. We secured series of funding, $8 million. I got promoted to Director of Engineering. My salary jumped to $130,000 plus equity. At Thanksgiving that year, Uncle Dave asked what I was up to. "Still working at that tech thing," I said. Good. Everyone needs a hobby. Brandon just made VP at Goldman. 28 years old. Youngest VP in his division. The startup kept growing. Series B funding, $35 million. We expanded to 3 offices. 200 employees. I became VP of Technology. Salary, $240,000 plus significant equity. Brandon got married. Huge wedding. My family talked about it for months. The venue, the honeymoon, his wife's family's connections. Photos in the group chat weekly. I got engaged to Maya, a brilliant data scientist I'd met at a conference. We had a small wedding, 50 people, backyard ceremony, food trucks. My family stayed for exactly 2 hours before leaving to attend some charity gala. "At least you kept it budget-friendly," Mom said on her way out. "Smart, given your situation." My situation. Right. By 32, my equity in the company was worth $12 million on paper. We were preparing for Series C funding. The board was discussing IPO timelines. I'd been promoted to Chief Technology Officer. My family thought I worked at some little tech shop in Austin. The truth was more complicated. Our little shop had become one of the fastest-growing enterprise software companies in North America. We provided cloud infrastructure solutions to Fortune 500 companies. Annual revenue, $180 million and climbing. Employee count, over 800 across 6 countries. I'd also made strategic angel investments in other startups. Built a portfolio worth $23 million. My personal net worth was around $47 million, most of it on paper but increasingly liquid as secondary markets opened up. And I kept my mouth shut about all of it. There was something clarifying about my family's dismissal. It freed me from needing their approval. I could focus on building something real instead of performing success for an audience that would never appreciate it anyway. Then our CEO Richard had a massive heart attack. I was in a meeting when I got the call. Richard's wife, hysterical, calling from the hospital. Richard was in surgery. Prognosis uncertain. The board needed to convene immediately. Emergency board meeting at 6 p.m. 8 board members on video call, 2 in person. Everyone shell-shocked. Richard had been the face of the company for 7 years. We were 4 months from a planned IPO. This was crisis mode. "We need interim leadership immediately," our lead investor said. "The IPO roadshow starts in 8 weeks. We can't show instability." 3 hours of discussion. Who could step in? External hire would take months. Internal promotion was risky but necessary. At 9 p.m. the board voted. They appointed me as CEO. Interim at first, until Richard recovers or we assess long-term options. But it was real. I was now Chief Executive Officer of a company valued at $1.2 billion. The announcement went out to all employees the next morning. Press release by noon. Tech industry publications picked it up within hours. Tech startup navigates leadership crisis. CTO Michael Chen steps up as CEO. My phone exploded with messages. Congratulations from colleagues, investors, industry contacts. LinkedIn notification hell. Interview requests from TechCrunch, Bloomberg, Forbes. Nothing from my family. They didn't follow tech news. Didn't know the company name. Had never asked enough questions to make any connections. I was drowning in the transition. Richard's surgery went well, but recovery would take months. The board made it clear. I was CEO for at least 6 months. Possibly permanently depending on Richard's health and my performance. The IPO timeline held firm. 8 weeks to prepare. Roadshow presentations. Investor meetings. Due diligence. SEC filings. I was working 20-hour days. 3 weeks into my new role, Mom called. Michael, we need to talk about Christmas. Mom, I'm in the middle of. It'll just take a minute. We're doing Christmas at Uncle Dave's this year. He just finished renovating his house, wants to show it off. Can you and Maya make it? I looked at my calendar. December 23rd to 26th. Right in the middle of IPO prep. We had investor meetings scheduled through December 27th. I don't think. Michael, it's Christmas. Family time. Surely your little shop can spare you for a few days. My little shop. The $1.2 billion company I was now running. I'll see what I can do. Great. Brandon and Melissa are coming. Brandon just got promoted again, executive vice president now. Makes $340,000 base plus bonus. We're so proud. I made $850,000 base salary as CEO, plus equity worth tens of millions, but sure. That's great, Mom. Maybe he can give you some career advice. He's really figured out how to succeed in business. I hung up and went back to reviewing our S1 filing. The next 3 weeks were chaos. Final IPO preparations. Board meetings. Press interviews. Leadership coaching. I was operating on 4 hours of sleep, living on coffee and adrenaline. The company issued me new security credentials. As CEO, I now had level 5 clearance, the highest tier. Access to all systems, all facilities, all data. The badge was different from my old CTO one. Heavier. More sophisticated. It included biometric verification, encrypted chips, and real-time location tracking for security purposes. It also had emergency alert capabilities. If there was a critical security incident, system breach, or urgent executive decision needed, the badge would light up and vibrate. Critical alert features for a CEO managing an $800 million company heading toward IPO. December 23rd arrived. Maya and I drove to Dallas for Christmas at Uncle Dave's new house. 5 hours in the car while I took calls and reviewed documents for Monday's investor meeting. Your family knows about the CEO thing, right? Maya asked. I haven't told them. Michael. What? They never ask. Besides, they wouldn't understand or care. To them, Brandon's VP title at Goldman is more impressive than CEO of a tech startup. You're not a startup anymore. You're a billion-dollar company going public. They don't know that. She sighed. This is going to be interesting. Uncle Dave's house was massive. New construction, gated community, probably 6,000 square feet. Multiple luxury cars in the driveway. Christmas decorations that likely cost more than most people's monthly mortgage. We walked in carrying our modest hostess gifts, wine and chocolates. The house was full. Extended family everywhere. Uncle Dave holding court, showing off his home theater system, his chef's kitchen, his imported Italian tile. Brandon saw me first. Mike, you made it. He'd started calling me Mike in college. I went by Michael. He knew that. Hey Brandon. Still in Austin? Still doing the computer stuff? Still there. Good for you, man. Hey, come see Dad's new pool. Infinity Edge smart home heating system, the works. I followed him outside, Maya's hand in mine. The pool was admittedly impressive. So was the outdoor kitchen, the landscaping, the whole setup. Dad spent $180,000 on the backyard alone, Brandon said proudly. But he can afford it. Consulting business is booming. Uncle Dave joined us holding a craft beer. Michael, glad you could make it. How's the little tech thing going? It's going well. Still just you and a few guys in an office? We've grown a bit. That's the spirit. Small business is the backbone of America. Even if you never get big, there's dignity in honest work. I sipped my beer and said nothing. Christmas Eve dinner was catered. Professional service, probably cost $5,000. 23 family members around an enormous custom dining table. Brandon sat at the head with Uncle Dave. The golden position. I was near the end, between Maya and my younger cousin who spent the entire meal on her phone. The conversation, as always, centered on achievements and acquisitions. Brandon talked about his latest deal, $400 million merger he'd helped structure. Aunt Linda talked about her lake house purchase. My cousin Rebecca announced her engagement to a doctor. Everyone celebrated appropriately. Uncle Dave stood up with his wine glass. I want to thank everyone for coming. This Christmas is special because we're all together, celebrating another successful year for our family. Brandon's promotion, Rebecca's engagement, Dave Jr.'s real estate license. We've raised successful, ambitious children. He gestured around the table. Everyone beamed. And we're thankful for everyone's contributions, no matter how small. Even Michael with his little computer shop. Every success matters. Polite applause. A few sympathetic smiles directed at me. Maya squeezed my hand under the table. Her expression said, "Tell them." I shook my head slightly. Not worth it. Now, let's talk about the lake house timeshare opportunity one wanted to pitch to everyone. Uncle Dave launched into a presentation about a vacation property investment. Required $50,000 buy-in per family. He'd already done the math. If 12 families went in together, everyone would get 3 weeks a year at this luxury property. Michael, this might be outside your budget range, he said sympathetically. But if you want to go in with Brandon's family as a sort of half-share, I'm sure we could work something out. I appreciate the offer, I said calmly. Just trying to include everyone. We know money's tight when you're building a small business. Maya looked like she might explode. I touched her knee gently. Let it go. After dinner, the men gathered in Uncle Dave's home theater while women cleaned up. A family tradition that made Maya furious every year. I helped carry dishes to the kitchen instead. Michael, you don't have to help with women's work, Mom said. I don't mind. Well, aren't you modern? Maybe that's why your business hasn't taken off, spending too much time on household chores instead of networking. I loaded the dishwasher silently. Back in the theater room, Uncle Dave was showing off his sound system. $40,000 worth of equipment. Everyone appropriately impressed. Brandon launched into a story about his latest bonus, $180,000 for the year. Not bad for a year's work. That's incredible. Dad said. Michael, you hear that? That's what success looks like. Maybe you should consider traditional finance instead of that tech gamble. I'm good where I am. Still running that little shop? Uncle Dave asked. How many employees now? 10. 12. We've grown some. Well, as long as it pays the bills. Not everyone can be Brandon. He clapped Brandon on the shoulder proudly. My phone buzzed. Work email. An investor had questions about our Q4 numbers. I started typing a response. Michael, put the phone away. Mom called from the kitchen. It's Christmas Eve. Just a quick work thing. Your shop can survive without you for one evening, Dad said. I pocketed the phone. The evening continued. More stories of Brandon's success. Uncle Dave's business wins. My cousin's new Lexus. Everyone's achievements measured in dollars and titles and visible status symbols. I sat quietly drinking beer thinking about Monday's investor meeting. We were talking to CalPERS about a $50 million investment. I needed to review the presentation deck again. Around 10 p.m., we gathered in the living room for gift exchange. Elaborate presents under a designer Christmas tree. Brandon and Melissa gave everyone expensive gifts. Cashmere scarves, high-end whiskey, designer picture frames. Maya and I had brought modest gifts. Nice but not extravagant. Books, local Austin products, thoughtful rather than expensive. How practical, Aunt Linda said, holding up the artisanal hot sauce we'd given her. Perfect for someone on a budget. More sympathetic smiles. We gave Brandon and Melissa a nice coffee table book about architecture. Cost $45. Brandon opened it, flipped through quickly. Cool, thanks. Hey, speaking of houses, Melissa and I are looking at properties in Connecticut. There's a place we love. $2.3 million waterfront. Needs some work but has great bones. Dad's helping with the down payment. Everyone congratulated them. Michael, you and Maya thinking about buying? Uncle Dave asked. There are some nice starter homes in the Austin suburbs, I'm sure. Maybe $200,000 range. We're renting right now, I said. It works for us. Actually, we just purchased a $3.8 million house in Westlake Hills, but why mention it? Renting's just throwing money away, Dad said. You should really consider buying. Build some equity. We'll think about it. Brandon pulled out his phone. Want to see the Connecticut property? It's amazing. He showed everyone photos. The family oohed and awed. Beautiful house, admittedly. Great location. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Then again. Then continuously, the vibration pattern of an urgent alert. I pulled it out. My security badge attached to my phone case was lighting up. Bright red LED flashing. Text scrolling across the small screen. Critical alert. System breach detected. Authorization required immediately. Everyone stared. What is that? Mom asked. Work thing. I need to take this. I stood up, walking toward Uncle Dave's home office for privacy. But the badge kept lighting up, now making a soft beeping sound. The security protocol for level 5 alerts. Michael, seriously? Dad called after me. Can't your shop survive without you for Christmas Eve? I was already on my phone, calling our Chief Information Security Officer. Michael, we have a situation, he said immediately. Attempted breach of our financial systems. Sophisticated attack. We need CEO authorization to initiate emergency protocols. Do it. Full lockdown. I'll jump on the video call in 2 minutes. I hung up and looked for a quiet space. Uncle Dave's office was occupied. He and some relatives were in there watching basketball. The living room was full of family. Kitchen was full. Everywhere I turned, people were staring at my still beeping, still flashing badge. Michael, what is happening? Maya asked, appearing at my side. Security breach. I need to authorize emergency response. Your badge says so, Brandon said slowly, having followed us. He was looking at my badge, which was now displaying my credentials on its small LED screen. Chin Michael, Chief Executive Officer, Level 5 clearance, worldwide access. More family members gathered. CEO of what? Uncle Dave asked. My company. I need to handle this. Your little shop has a CEO badge? With security clearance. Dad looked confused. My phone started ringing. The board chair. This was escalating. Everyone, I really need privacy for this. But now the whole family had gathered. All staring at my flashing badge, my ringing phone, my obvious crisis management mode. Uncle Dave looked at the badge more closely. Next Tech Solutions? Michael, is that your company? Yes. I really need to. Wait. Brandon had pulled out his phone. Next Tech Solutions. Mike, that's the company going public in February. The billion-dollar IPO. The room went silent. You work there? Aunt Linda asked. I'm the CEO. You could have heard a pin drop. The CEO, Dad repeated slowly. Since November. I was CTO before that. Now I really need to handle this security situation. I walked out onto Uncle Dave's back patio, leaving 23 stunned family members behind. Jumped on the emergency video call. Spent 40 minutes coordinating our response to the breach attempt. Authorized system lockdowns. Approved emergency security protocols. Consulted with our legal team about disclosure requirements. Maya brought me coffee halfway through. Kissed my temple. Whispered, they're all inside Googling you. By the time I finished the call, breach contained, no data lost, attackers identified and reported to FBI. It was nearly midnight. I walked back inside. The entire family was in the living room. Everyone holding phones or tablets. Everyone staring at screens. Michael, Mom said weakly. Forbes says you're the CEO of a company worth $1.2 billion. That's the current private valuation, yes. Bloomberg says the IPO could value it at $2 billion, Brandon added, his voice strange. That's speculative but possible. TechCrunch says you've been with the company for 9 years. Started as a senior engineer. Dad was reading from his phone like he couldn't believe the words. Employee number 8, yes. Uncle Dave was pale. Your equity stake. Michael, they're estimating your personal stake could be worth. This can't be right. What's it say? I asked calmly. $180 million post-IPO. That's aggressive. $140 to $160 million is more realistic, depending on the opening price. The number hung in the air. Million. Aunt Linda whispered. Yes. Brandon made a sound like he'd been punched. You're worth over $100 million? On paper. Most of it's illiquid until after the IPO. But with secondary sales and angel investments, my current liquid net worth is around $50 million. Silence. Your little shop, Dad said slowly, employs over 800 people. 847 as of last week. Annual revenue of $180 million. $183 million this year. Projected $240 million next year. Mom sat down heavily. You've been CEO for 6 weeks and we didn't know. You never asked. You still thought I was running a small startup with a handful of employees. You let us think that. Uncle Dave said. No. You assumed that. I never confirmed or denied anything. You just never asked enough questions to learn the truth. Brandon was scrolling through articles on his phone. You've been interviewed by Forbes. By Bloomberg. You gave a keynote at a tech conference last year. How did we not know? You don't follow tech news. You never visited Austin. You never asked about my work beyond, still doing the computer thing? You weren't interested, so you never found out. We would have been interested if we'd known you were running a billion-dollar company. Aunt Linda protested. Would you? I asked. Or would you just have treated me differently because of the number? Like you're all treating me right now. More silence. This is why I didn't say anything, I continued. For 9 years you dismissed what I was building. Called it a little shop. Suggested I get career advice from Brandon. Told me to be realistic about my budget. Said there was dignity in honest work even if I never got big. You were happy to keep me in a box that made you comfortable. Michael, Mom started. I'm not angry, I said, and I meant it. I'm just clear. You needed me to be less successful than Brandon. It made the family hierarchy work. But I was never less successful. I was just quieter about it. Dad had tears in his eyes. We're so sorry. I know. But here's the thing. I built all this without your support or validation. And it's better that way. I did it for the right reasons. Because I loved the work. Because I believed in what we were building. Not to impress anyone. The lake house investment, Uncle Dave said suddenly. You could buy the entire property yourself. Probably. But I'm not interested. Brandon looked devastated. All those times I gave you career advice. All those times I talked about my bonuses. You were making 5 times what I make. Your success is real, Brandon. Goldman VP at 32 is legitimately impressive. You should be proud. But you're a CEO of a company going public. You're going to be worth. He couldn't finish. Money doesn't measure worth, I said. You know that. My phone buzzed again. Security team confirming all systems stable. I typed a quick response. I need to head back to Austin, I said to Maya. We have calls with FBI in the morning about the breach attempt. On Christmas Day? Mom asked. Cybersecurity doesn't take holidays. We gathered our things. The family watched in silence. No one quite knew what to say. At the door, Uncle Dave stopped me. Michael, I'm sorry. For all of it. For not seeing you. For dismissing what you built. I appreciate that. Can we start over? Really get to know your work. I considered it. Maybe. But I'm not interested in being the family success story now that everyone knows the numbers. If we rebuild relationships, it has to be real. Not based on my bank account. He nodded slowly. Fair. Brandon appeared. Michael. I'm sorry too. I was an ass. For years. You weren't an ass. You just bought the story everyone told. I'm successful, you're successful. It doesn't have to be a competition. Can I call you sometime? Actually ask about your work? Not to get advice or connections. Just to actually know my cousin. Yeah. I'd like that. Maya and I drove back to Austin that night. 5 hours in the dark, processing everything. How do you feel? She asked. Tired. But about the family thing? I thought about it. Relieved maybe? The secret was exhausting. Not because I wanted them to know, but because maintaining their illusion took energy. Will things change now? Probably. They'll treat me differently. That's inevitable. But maybe some relationships can become real. Brandon seemed genuine. Your mom cried when we left. I know. We drove in silence for a while. The badge lighting up was pretty dramatic timing, Maya said with a small smile. I laughed. Not how I planned to tell them, but effective. My phone buzzed. Text from Dad, I'm proud of you. I should have said that 9 years ago. I'm sorry it took this long. I showed Maya. You going to respond? Tomorrow. Tonight I just want to go home. Home was our new house in Westlake Hills. 4,200 square feet, infinity pool, views of the hill country. We'd furnished it simply, comfortable rather than ostentatious. It was big but not showy. Expensive but not for show. We bought it because we loved it. Not to prove anything to anyone. The IPO happened in February. Opening price, $27 per share. By end of day one, $42. My equity stake was worth $187 million. Forbes called for an interview. Bloomberg wanted a profile. TechCrunch requested a feature about my journey from employee number 8 to CEO. I did selective press. Kept it professional. Focused on the company, not personal wealth. My family saw the coverage. The Forbes article got shared in the group chat 17 times. Everyone congratulating me. Everyone proud. Brandon called. We talked for 2 hours about work, life, family. Actually talked. He was processing a lot. His identity had been built on being the successful one. Now he was recalibrating. I'm happy for you, he said finally. I mean it. I'm also jealous and confused and a little devastated. But I'm genuinely happy for you. Your success is real too, I reminded him. I know. But Michael, you built something extraordinary. From the ground up. I just climbed a ladder someone else built. Both are fine. But yours is special. We have different paths. That's okay. Yeah. Pause. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why didn't you tell us? Really? I considered the question carefully. Because if I'd told you early when the company was small, you would have dismissed it as delusion. And if I'd told you later when we were successful, it would have changed everything for the wrong reasons. You would have treated me differently because of what I had, not who I was. I needed to know I could build something without external validation. Does that make sense? Yeah. Actually, it really does. We talked more often after that. Real conversations. He asked about my work, I asked about his. We were building an actual relationship instead of a competitive dynamic. Mom and Dad visited Austin. Toured the office. A sleek space downtown with amazing architecture. Met my team. Saw what I'd built. They cried in the lobby. We missed so much, Mom said. You did. But we can't go back. We can only go forward. Uncle Dave sent a long email apologizing for years of dismissal. He owned it completely. Asked for nothing. Just acknowledged his failures. I wrote back. Accepted the apology. Suggested we try fresh. The family dynamics shifted. I was no longer the invisible cousin, the budget option, the small business guy. Some relatives got weird about money. Suddenly everyone had investment opportunities to share. I shut that down quickly. But some relationships deepened. Brandon and I became genuine friends. My younger cousins reached out asking about tech careers. Dad called weekly, actually wanting to know about my work. It wasn't perfect. Years of dismissal don't heal instantly. But it was better. And I learned something important. I'd been right to keep quiet. Not to hide. But to protect my journey. To build something real without the pressure of family expectations or the distortion of family judgment. Some people need an audience for their success. Need validation. Need recognition. I'd needed the opposite. Needed space. Needed freedom from expectations. Needed to know I was building something because I believed in it, not to prove anything to anyone. The badge lighting up on Christmas Eve wasn't the moment I proved my worth to my family. It was the moment I realized I'd already proven it to myself. And that was the only validation that had ever mattered.